People want choice. How do we define choice? They have to have a purpose. What's my purpose? They have to feel that they have purpose. They have to then have efficacy. They have to think about the results. Are the results that I generate and deliver every day respected and valued in my organization? And do I have autonomy? Do I have the autonomy to do things in a manner that I believe are most beneficial because I'm a subject matter expert? Those three things, purpose, efficacy, and autonomy, give people choice that gives them agency.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life. Love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people. We're forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. I'm thrilled to be able to have a conversation with Fran Ricciopi, former Green Beret and CEO of FRSIX. Our conversation today centers around pursuing your passions despite fear and intimidation. Fran shares a story of overcoming fear throughout his military career and beyond in business and entrepreneurial life, and the importance of character in building exceptional teams and organizations. We go deep and talk about real life, including the importance of understanding your purpose, adapting to challenges, and creating impact. Fran, first of all, welcome and thank you for your service. My wife wanted to definitely, say, I don't know what's the line for Army. I know the Marines are like, hoorah! Is there one for the Army?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have this phrase that goes hooah.
Hooah.
And it can mean anything. It can mean anything.
All right. Well, good. Well, hooah. There you go. Okay, I did that. So, welcome to the show. You have such a background. Before we started the show, we had a little bit of a conversation, and you've done a lot. What you're currently doing is fascinating to me. But let's just peel back that onion and talk about being a Green Beret. Like, that is elite, and a lot of people try to do it and they can't do it. And so, how did that come about? Like, did you always want to be in the military when you were a kid, or all of a sudden something snapped? Where did that come from?
No, I was supposed to be a journalist. That was my path.
Okay.
I watched Dan Rather and Tom Brokaw and Peter Jennings every night on the network news, and that was it. They were my heroes. I saw them and I said, the only thing I want to do in life is I want to be a reporter. I want to be a network news anchor, and I want to report the news every single day. And so I went to Boston University to study journalism, and I studied broadcast journalism. And I played Division I sports. I was on the men's rowing team. So that was my life. Row, go to school. And 9/11 was my junior year. And I watched the towers fall shortly after 9 a.m., right around 9 a.m. on that morning. And it changed journalism in a lot of different ways. You saw at that point, I think Tom Brokaw had actually been on the news for something like 48 or 72 hours. Like, he had like never come off. And I was inspired by that. And that drove me for, about another 6-8 months, until journalism has always been embedded in war, right? You can go back to Ernie Pyle and, and back for history, we've had embedded journalism, but what we never had was live broadcast. And, we had the 91 Gulf War, which, was the first one that we saw on CNN, but it was from a distance. But what you had in the Iraq War, what you had in Afghanistan, were reporters were on the ground broadcasting live, embedded with the military. And the reason why we didn't have that was a little bit of technology, a
Right.
lot of DOD, Department of Defense, saying we don't want it. Right. But you had an administration who expected quick victory. And so they said, yeah, get the reporters in there and let's see what good things our servicemen and women are doing. And so I thought, yeah, being a war correspondent is pretty cool. That's what I should do.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm gonna tell this story, but I'm gonna caveat it with, if anybody knows Geraldo Rivera and they can introduce me to him, please do, because he changed my life and I want to interview him. But I watched this clip.
Okay, so
Geraldo.
I want you to know, so we have a very similar path in that when I was 5 years old, I saw Gary Owens on Laugh-In. And I was like hooked, and I stood in front of the TV and I said, I want to talk on TV. And I didn't know what that meant. So it took a couple years, and then I'm 7 or 8 years old. I'm playing radio, wanted to be in radio. I was in radio. I was in radio in San Diego for 15 years. I remember being on the radio when the first Iraq war started, and we stopped all the music and we just like had conversations with people trying to process what was going on. But the reason I wanted to jump in and say this is that I had the opportunity to meet Gary Owens, and he's the one that he's your Geraldo Rivera, in that he's the guy. And I was at an event and I got to meet him, and he was such a beautiful, generous man. He sat with me for like 3 hours and we had lunch and we talked, and it was amazing. So I know a lot of people and they know a lot more people. So like, it's now become my mission. I'm going to see what I can do to get you connected to Geraldo Rivera. Like seriously, because I know what that meant to me. And I know what it meant to Gary, to show him, look, you inspired me to do this, and this is what I did because of you. Like, you're the guy. So I am now going to figure out, I know a lot of people. I'm just saying, I don't know. If I put something out there, it's going to happen.
See, I think I have a story that Geraldo would talk to me about, because what happened was he was on this patrol. I don't remember if he was with the Army or the Marines, and they got in a firefight and he pulls out a pistol and he starts running down the street and falls down and loses the pistol, and everyone's yelling, "You idiot, what are you doing? Why do you have a gun? You can't have a gun, you're a reporter." And I looked at Geraldo Rivera and I said, nope. I can't do that. I got to go be the guy on the other side. I got to be the guy with the long hair.
Big gun.
And the beard. And the long hair, and riding horses, saving the world. And if I want to be a reporter, I'll do that later on in life. And so that's what I did. I went down and didn't tell my family or my girlfriend, who's now my wife, 20 plus years later, and said, I think I'm going to go in the Army. I'm going to go to officer candidate school, and one day I'm going to become a Green Beret. But first I'm going to go in the infantry. And everyone was like, what? The infantry? Like, yeah, that's where you learn to lead. That's where you learn to be a soldier. That's where you learn the most about being around those who are fighting our nation's wars and making a difference. And that's what I wanted to do. And so I spent 4 years in the infantry until my window opened for special forces. And then I went to selection.
Wow. I love how you did that, because most people want to build a house without a foundation, and you built a foundation. They always want to start up here, and the basis of anything that's solid, you have to have that foundation. I know they could probably teach you that, but for you to go in and really get the essence and the core of the leadership, I'm sure that made you a much better, soldier in the special forces than had you just kind of came in through a different channel.
We're impatient by nature.
Absolutely.
And we see things, and we're a want it now culture. right?
Yeah.
Technology advances, the cell phone, the app culture, the Ubers of the world, right? DoorDash, you name it, has exacerbated that, right? And we've got a culture and a society of young adults who are growing up who don't know anything but that. Well, I want to talk to somebody. All right, pick up the phone and text them. They'll get right back to you because their phone is glued to their hand as well, and so they're going to see it. Which also, side caveat, pisses me off when people don't respond to me when I know that they're like posting on Instagram and stuff, and it's like, hey, I just texted you and you didn't respond to me, yet I saw your post on Instagram from 35 seconds ago.
Oh yeah, or you text them and you can see that they read it.
Oh yeah,
and they're like. And then you're like, oh, you're there, so I'm going to call you, and then they don't answer.
Call somebody.
And then you see them
calls
texting
anybody nowadays.
I know, but then you see them texting again, and then nothing. I'm like, oh my God, that's just funny. I know, it's weird.
Now your phone rings and you look at it and you're like, the nerve, they called. But
you have to text someone before. Hey, can I call you? It's the weirdest thing.
But how much productivity are we losing? You got to look at this too. An absolute tremendous amount of productivity is lost, not only in terms of time and energy, but what happens when somebody calls you? You're forced to address whatever topic they have, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is, right in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We used to not know who was calling us because the phone rang. Hello. Now, when was the last time you said hello? Now you answer the phone, and it's just, hey, Rob.
I know. My daughter does that. She just goes, I'm like, she goes, it rings, and then she goes, hello? I'm like, it's your dad. She goes, I know. I'm like, well, what did you say? Hi, Dad. She goes, I'm busy. What? I'm like, she's my daughter. So you know how it is.
Yeah. I know. Mine's 13.
Yeah.
If she even wants to speak to me and have 50% of the day, then that's a win in my book. But if you look at if you look at what's happening, right, and you think about society, we've taken an impatient by nature human being, right?
Right.
And now we've given them all these tools to be more impatient. And then you look at something like growing a business, being an entrepreneur, founding a business, becoming a Green Beret. I gave a talk the other day. I run leadership programs. And the program I run is called the 5 Components of a Performance Mindset. And we talk a lot. And so I've developed these 5 components of character, preparation, choice, action, communication. And we talk about them throughout this day. And one of the things I talk about is the fact that it took me 2 years to become a Green Beret. 2 years of training after 4 years in the infantry.
Right.
And that got me to day one. That got me to the moment in which I had my Special Forces tab on my sleeve. I had my Green Beret on my head, and I walked into my team room. And at any point in time from there, now I actually had to earn it. Now I had to actually earn it.
So it's almost like kindergarten. It's almost like kindergarten when you walk in with your team. First day, right? Like you're brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
Day one. Wow.
Brand new. And I don't know anyone on that team, and they don't know me. And there's guys on that team who'd been there for 20 years, 10 years. Wow. They'd had 5, 6, 7, 8 deployments. And so when we think about building organizations and we think about this rush, we got to get it done now. We got to get it done now. Some things just take time.
Right.
And you have to take your hits. You have to take your licks. You have to figure it out. And when we try to rush it, we lead to failure. Now, do we want to move quickly? Yes, every entrepreneur wants to move quickly. Nobody says, well, I can't wait to move slow today. But we got to be patient in certain things. And trust me, I say this, and this is like the hardest thing for me to do every single day. When I pull up, my podcast stats, I pull up my accounts receivables in my business, and it's like, oh my God, we're never going to get there. But it takes time. And we have to be comfortable living in that environment, finding solutions and continuing to drive and grow in the face of this challenge, of which is our own impatience.
Yeah, it's you being the overnight success, and it only took you 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
You're so, I hear this all the time with people. They're like, oh my God, you're so lucky. Not to me, but other people, they're like, you're so lucky. Look at your business just exploded. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been building this for 10 years. It's the overnight success in 10 years thing.
I used the example of Taylor Swift the other day in this class, in this seminar that I gave, because you think about Taylor Swift. Okay, my daughter spent 4 days on the other side of this wall here crying because I couldn't get her Taylor Swift tickets because they're $2,000 a piece for the seats behind the stage. Right.
What a failure of a dad you are.
Yeah,
what a failure of a dad.
And I felt awful.
Oh my God.
I felt awful. And it's like you're like doing the math and you're like, okay, well, I don't know if we got the tickets, like it's like, the cars, the house, and you're like, you're doing all the fractional, like this is what I won't pay for, I guess.
Food, stuff like that.
Yeah. But if you think about it, and people are like, it's incredible what she's done. Full disclosure, I went to and saw Taylor Swift in 2008. I think 2007 or 2008, when she had one album and was opening for Toby Keith. So I went to see Toby Keith. Okay, yeah, that's where I went.
Wow, okay.
But I mean, think about how long that is. That's what 16 years.
Yeah,
16 years. 16 years to go from and which in order to even get on a stage with Toby Keith as an opener and have an album. She was, I think she was like 16 or something. She'd been doing that her whole life. She'd been doing that 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 26 years that it's taken for her to become what is probably the number one artist in the world.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. And, it's funny because you think of $2,000 and you being an entrepreneur and you being a businessman and you look at all this stuff. They make a ton of money on that. However, the initial cost to put together that underwater LED screen for her to dive underneath and all the special effects and all the LEDs and, I'm an audiophile, I'm a sound designer, I'm an engineer, and all of that for it to sound at the level that it needs to be is so incredibly expensive. And, for her case, there's a guarantee that people are going to buy their tickets. I mean, people lost their minds that couldn't get in. But, with business, you can do everything you want to do. And then you open those doors and you may not have any customers. And there's that risk. You've got everything there and you throw a party and no one shows up. So, the foundation is so important, and you can definitely see in how she has built up, where she is. I remember her with Toby Keith, and it was a long time ago, and who she is then to who she is now, and her power and her strength and her charisma and her superstar power is not an overnight success, as everybody thinks. Oh my God, she's an overnight success. She's been around for a long time. She built that foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to think in that perspective, and that's really hard. And it's not easy, especially if you have financial constraints, especially if you've taken risk and you've assumed risk for you and your family. And you're waking up every day going, I don't know if we're going to make it, but do I have a vision?
Yeah.
And can you come back to that vision? Can you come back to that goal? Can you then create the list? Can you create the list of things that I've got to do every single day? And before I go to bed, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to make that list for tomorrow. So when I wake up, I'm prepared to execute. And can my days compound, and gain an exponential return on each day's investment?
So last week's podcast with Justin Breen, we were talking about entrepreneurs. And the one thing that he said that really sets apart true entrepreneurs is they don't make excuses and they shift and they pivot. They don't get caught up in the morass of all the negative and the downside of what happened. They just like figure out a way to get it done. And that's one of the most important things of being in business and even in life is that life happens. 9/11 happened. There's a lot of stuff that happened. COVID happened. And it's interesting because in those situations, especially in COVID, there are a lot of people that just gave up and became victims. They just let the world happen around them and they just withered away. And then there's other people, they're like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? Let's do this. And they flourished. And it takes something really special in the entrepreneur to do that. And, you have such incredible training that you have. However, if you're training someone who's not of an entrepreneur core of their being, you can't really teach them to not be the victim and to not let the circumstances overwhelm them. But the thing is with entrepreneurs, they just like shift, pivot, come up, and they just keep getting back up,
Well, what you have to teach is the special forces mindset. There's nothing special about being special forces. Okay. Like I'm a regular dude. I grew up outside of Boston, born in Rhode Island. If you ask my wife and my daughter, I have plenty of flaws of which I am reminded of on a minute by minute basis, regardless of the time of day.
Yeah, you didn't get tickets for her for Taylor Swift. Come on, Dad.
I'll never live it down. But you're just a regular person. Okay, what's the difference? The difference is your attitude. The difference is your mindset. Yeah. The difference is the fact that you start every day with remembering what your mission is and your goals and why am I here? And then on top of that mission, you have a certain set of values that you're going to live by, that you're going to respect, and you're going to impart those in yourself and your organization. And then we're going to do these things that I talked about. Number one, we're going to prepare. We're going to have the discipline to prepare. You and I were talking about that before we started.
Yeah.
I gave a keynote. It's called The Discipline to Prepare. Because I truly believe that. The tagline of the Jedburgh podcast, how you prepare today determines success tomorrow. I don't believe that there are any truer words than that. We cannot simply expect success. Success is earned. And success is earned through the work that we put in through our preparation. But how do we approach that preparation? How do we think about it? That's number one. The second one is we have to have character. Character sits at the foundation of everything. We can define character a lot of different ways. Okay? We can put a lot of words to character. Special Forces uses 9. We weight them differently, whether you're going to be a Green Beret or an Army Ranger or Navy SEAL, it doesn't matter. But what I tell companies, what I tell organizations is pick 3 or 4. Pick 3 or 4 character traits. Drive, resiliency, adaptability, humility, integrity, effective intelligence, team ability, curiosity, emotional strength, you name it. I could go on. Pick them and say, I'm going to recruit and assess my team on these 3, these 4. And if they demonstrate these, then that's somebody that I want in my organization because of what I'm asking them to do. And when I assess on character, okay, we say hire for character, train for skill. I could train a lot of things, okay, especially soft skills. Now look, I mean, if you need a software engineer and somebody doesn't have a degree in coding, well, guess what? You're going to need to go find someone who does because your runway is not going to be long enough. Okay, so we get that, right? But you're still going to want people of character who assimilate to what you've defined as important in your organization. The next thing is choice. Okay, people want choice. How do we define choice? They have to have a purpose. What's my purpose? They have to feel that they have purpose. They have to then have efficacy. They have to think about the results. Are the results that I generate and deliver every day respected and valued in my organization? And do I have autonomy? Do I have the autonomy to do things in a manner that I believe are most beneficial because I'm a subject matter expert? Those 3 things, purpose, efficacy, and autonomy, give people choice, that gives them agency. Now, post-COVID, we have all these conversations about, people are switching the great, whatever they call it,
Reset.
the great reset, or
Yeah.
the transition of jobs, right?
Right.
Well, why? Because people are identifying that I have choice. More opportunity has opened up because of Zoom. Okay. We
Right.
can sit here and have a whole nother conversation about actual productivity in the workplace and ideation and what we're actually going to realize in 5 years was a failed experiment, but we'll get there. But what they've realized is I have choice, and I have choice because I can redefine my purpose. I can see results differently, and I can do it the way I want to do it, with autonomy being the number one probably driving factor that has created that. So choice matters. Okay. The next one is action. You wrote a book on action. We have to have bias to action. Otherwise, we're continuously limited by limiting beliefs or all of those challenges through which we do not see opportunity. What is a challenge? What is an opportunity? Okay, we talk about resiliency. We think about resiliency. Get back up when you get knocked down. We don't always have to get knocked down. We can see challenge. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I just did a number of projects for major government organizations. I ate the entire project cost because the government doesn't pay in a timely manner. Am I going to sit here and shut my business down? No. I have to find a way to front that capital, knowing that, hey, there's opportunity on the back end. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, we had $18 in our bank account in the company, but we're going to fix that. We're going to find opportunity. We're going to figure out how to get it done, because the opportunity is great at an exponential level when these things occur and when these things finalize. So we have to have a bias to action.
So I operate out of abundance, like in a massive way. I just believe there's enough for everyone. And it's when you have that abundance mindset and not out of scarcity. So when you can't afford something, and this is very entrepreneurial, when you can't afford something, you don't sit there and you go, I can't afford that. What an entrepreneur does, and someone who's a visionary, they will automatically go, okay, what do I need to do to generate the revenue, because I really want what that is? And it's a totally different mindset. And it can't be, just like character, you can't teach someone how to have character. You really can't teach someone how to have that mindset of abundance. I mean, you either have it or you don't. You can get the essence of it, but I truly believe that, we're made in our molds and how they are. We have our skill sets and our talents, and you can get the general, there are people that are incredible chefs and incredible cooks. You can teach me to cook. I could never be what they are. That's just not the gift that I have.
Oh, I've interviewed great, amazing, world-renowned chefs, taken their cookbook back to my house, tried to do the same thing, and completely desecrated it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have our lanes. We have what we're supposed to do, where we're in flow, and we know what that is. And with the way the world is now, people are having an opportunity to actually follow their passion and to do what they want to do, and to not be just a cog in the wheel. And so people that are visionaries and entrepreneurs are awakening, and they're seeing opportunity. And, it's fearful there's a lot of fear in saying, I'm going to not do this. I'm going to do this because this is my passion. But you got to give them a whole lot of credit for that, in that they're being bold and they are taking action and they are moving with momentum. And there are incredible businesses that are being developed out of thin air from people that have just decided, I'm going to follow my passion.
Why else are you here?
Exactly.
That's the question that I think has to be asked. Your show's called Life Transformation Radio. Okay. Let's think about that for a second. All right. And I think about life in terms of chapters.
Yeah.
And every chapter that we have, by and large, you could think back on your life and you probably have a fairly definitive start to that chapter and a fairly definitive end. And each one of those chapters is going to transform us in a different way. It's going to change us personally. It's going to change us professionally. It's going to change all aspects of our being. But we're building one of those character traits of effective intelligence, right? The more experiences we have, the more we're shaping our perspective, the more we're shaping our decision making, the more we're going to leverage those later on in life. Maybe we don't face the same situation, but we face a like situation, and we can draw on that and to make a more informed and better decision. But when we transform in these moments, we have to understand what our purpose is, and our purpose may change. Our purpose may also have a common through line. But for me, it's impact. I wanted to be a journalist. Why did I want to be a journalist? Because there were people on the TV who were reporting the news, keeping their opinion out of it, which is difficult these days.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show on that. Okay. But they were creating impact through what they were reporting in the world. I wanted to be a Green Beret. I wanted to create a global impact in the defense of our nation. I started the Jedburgh podcast. I wanted to create impact through conversations with leaders who were dedicated to winning no matter the challenge in whatever industry that might be. I was in a job, and I've held a series of jobs since I got out of the Army. All that I believed were somewhat impactful, but something was missing in all of those, and that was my ability to create impact in my way. People will say, they'll ask people, why did you become an entrepreneur? I didn't want to work for anybody. I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I served in the Army. I've proven that I can work for somebody and be very effective at it.
Right.
Okay. People will say, I don't like being told what to do. Well, guess what? I'm told what to do 24/7 by 3 kids and a wife. That's part of life. My mother still calls me and tells me what to do. I'm 43 years old. Okay. So you're always going to get told what to do, but that's not really the root of it. What it is and what drives entrepreneurs, at least what drives me, is the fact that everything that I do every day is my own problem. It's my own initiative. The result is owned by me. Good, bad, indifferent. It's all about, there's a direct correlation to how hard I work is going to be feast or famine back in my direction by and large, and those within my company. And I have control, I have agency over those decisions. So it's not about working for somebody. I could be highly impactful working in an organization.
Right.
But do I wake up every day and say to myself, I'm creating the impact that drives me to do great things? That's the question that you have to come to. So a couple of months ago, I had that realization over a period of time as I worked as the chief people officer of a company. And I said, I can't do it anymore. I've got the podcast grown very nicely over the last couple of years. I have my business, the FRSIX, which had started and was growing. And I looked at my wife and I said, I can't do it. I gotta leave. I gotta follow these. These are the passions that I have. This is what drives me every day. Obviously, she was like, "You're insane." And we live that every day now. And we talked about fear. Talk about being scary, but that's what it is. But do I wake up every day with the motivation and the drive and the vision and the knowing that I can get there? I do. And to me, that's empowering.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't want to hear this. And your life is your life exactly where it is based on all of the decisions that you've made. Like where you turn left, where you turn right, where you didn't work, where you worked, where you did this, where you did that, the good, the bad, the ugly. But your life and everything in it, including the relationships you have, are all about the decisions that you've made. And when you have that, you have the responsibility of your life. And what's great about that is that if you are responsible for your life the way it is today, if you don't like it, you can be responsible and create your life how you want it to be. And that's one of the things about entrepreneurship is that your company is successful because of the efforts that you do, who you hire, who you fire, clients you have, the decisions you make, how hard you work, what you invest in, what you don't invest in. And it ultimately, and it's funny because people look at entrepreneurs and they say, oh, it's all about the money. No, money and the zeros or the dollars
what money?
is a score. Yeah, I know.
Show me where the money is.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a way to keep score. That's really all that it is. There are some people that are motivated extremely by money. And if they get a little bit of money, they buy the Lamborghini, the cars and all this stuff that, I don't know about you, but I've had a near-death experience. And I'm laying on my deathbed that I thought I was going to die. Didn't really think about anything I had. All I thought about was, am I going to see my daughter again? Who do I get to see again? Did I have closure with this person? And I just missed all the people that I thought I wasn't going to get to see again. Not about cars or houses or anything else. And so it's important that you do what you love, because this is not a dress rehearsal. This is our life. And we have to live every day like we want to be alive. And if your pursuit of happiness is to not do what you're doing today, then break through your fear and do it and have that impact. And that's one of the cool things about podcasting. We're fellow podcasters, and the majority of podcasters, what they want the most is impact.
Well, define courage in here too. So how do you define courage, right? Courage is taking action in the face of fear.
Absolutely.
It's not like, you're so courageous. You woke up and you said, I'm going to run through the sound of gunfire. Oh, I'm going to quit my job and build this business. Oh, you name it, right? Well, no, everybody has the fear. It's identification of the fear and then still taking action in the face of the fear. That's courage.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of things you can have it in front of you. So based on the law of action, it's decide, you plan, you act. The difference is that most people stuck in the planning stage, they never take that plane off the ground, off the runway. They never act. And it's based on fear. And so when you overcome fear, what's available to you is incredible. There's an elation, there's an exuberance, there's life, and just this massive excitement. And the cool thing is if you can overcome fear in your life, it doesn't even have to be directly related to the action you're going to take. I'm afraid of heights. I went up and I rode in a helicopter, and it was terrifying until I got in the air, and I got off the helicopter. I'm like, I want to go again. And so now when I come across something that's fearful to me, I'm like, I went in that helicopter, and then I'm afraid of heights. And I also went and did the flying trapeze. I was 40 feet up in the air on this. It took me 22 minutes to climb up the rope to get to that platform. And then I got to the platform, and I don't know whose idea it was, but the platform was clear plexiglass. I didn't know I didn't expect that. And, I'll never forget what the guy said. I'm up on there, and he goes, I'm coming down. He goes, you can't. No one can go down the ladder. It just doesn't work that way. You have to swing. You have to. And I'm like, I can't. And he goes, here's the reality, Rob. He goes, are you scared? Yes. Are you feeling fear? Yes. Does it feel dangerous up there? Yes. Guess what? As of right now, it can't be any more dangerous. You're already there. And you can't be more fearful. There's nothing else it could be. So now you've already hit the point of massive fear. You're at the element of massive danger. So grab the frickin' bar and fly.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was amazing when you know that you're at the point, it couldn't be any more dangerous. So I guess I have to act. I can't be any more scared. Like, I was really terrified. And then it's just like, okay, well, then let's fly. And I did it. And I've done it multiple times. And it's so powerful when you overcome the fear and really pursue your life that you love.
Well, and we ask ourselves the wrong questions, right? The question you ask yourself is, what if I don't make it? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work? When the
Absolutely.
question is, what if it works?
Absolutely.
What if I
100%.
do make it? What if it does succeed? That's the question. That's the starting point. The starting point is not an assumption of success. The starting point is, what do I have to do to earn success? And then I'm going to put the building blocks in place to be able to do that. If the starting point is, what am I going to do to avoid failure? You're destined to drive to failure. It's like, what do they teach you when you drive cars? When you drive cars, what do they teach you? Your hands gravitate to where your eyes are looking. So you look through the turn.
Yeah.
You look through the turn, your hands go towards the turn. You look at the apex of the turn, your car drives into the apex of the turn. And at the last second, you're swerving around.
Right.
That's life. That's success and failure. When I wake up and say, what are the things I have to do today to ensure success? First, what are the things I have to do to make sure I don't fail? You're going to fail.
Absolutely. Like, move forward with momentum. Don't look in the past. And it's easier said than done. However, I hope that hearing it again from Fran is just another sign from the universe that this is your time. You deserve that happily ever after. And that focus on the positive. Lean in towards the positive, because life is so beautiful, especially when you get into flow and you trust the process and you just move forward with momentum.
We have to move forward. That's what we're here to do. I truly believe that. So we got to do it together. I think that there's an important aspect here about, I don't know, people say community. I think it's used a lot, the word community, but we are social creatures, just like we're impatient creatures, and we've got to do it together. And so does that mean that you're going to have a network of 10,000 people? Because that's what I have on LinkedIn. It's like, no, those aren't your friends. You have a small group that you got to identify, who you may have a couple of small groups who are going to be for different aspects of your life. And those are the group of people that you got to cultivate and build meaningful relationships with, because they're the ones that you'll be able to do great things with together.
Fran, thank you so much for being here today. Just a treat. Like, really, I just looked down, I'm like, wow, I thought we had just started. And I'm like, oh, I guess we've been talking for a little bit of time. So thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you want to reach Fran, you can reach him at jedburghpodcast.com. And he's a great guy. And I'm going to have him back again because we have a lot to talk about.
Let's do it.
I don't know if he'll come back or not, but we'll see.
Anytime.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your support and taking time out of your busy and precious day to listen to Life Transformation Radio. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guests, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.